This is the story of a car that its own designer called the most perfect design of my career. A car that took over a decade to develop, cost $1 billion to engineer, and debuted to waiting lists stretching 5 years long. And yet today, you can buy one for less than a loaded Honda Accord. The Mercedes-Benz R129 SL is arguably the most undervalued masterpiece in automotive history. Let's talk about why. The R129 began its life in the mid-1970s. Think about that for a moment. Mercedes-Benz had just launched the R107 SL, a car that would go on to sell for 18 years, and they were already sketching its replacement. What followed was one of the longest and most obsessive development cycles in automotive history. Under the direction of chief designer Bruno Sacco, engineer-designer Johann Tomford, and his colleague Dieter Fuchsik refined a shape that Sacco wouldn't freeze until the mid-1980s. He had years to obsess over every line, every surface, every proportion. And it shows. Sacco had a philosophy he applied to every Mercedes he touched. He called it horizontal homogeneity and vertical affinity. The first meant that every car in the Mercedes lineup should look like it belongs to the same family. The second, and this is the important part, meant that no Mercedes should ever be made to look obsolete by its successor. Sacco believed that because Mercedes owners kept their cars for 20 to 30 years, the design had to endure. The R129 is perhaps the purest expression of that belief. Look at one today. It doesn't look dated. It doesn't look retro. It just looks right. When the R129 finally debuted at the Geneva Motor Show in March of 1989, it was a technological tour de force. This car introduced the world's first fully automatic electro-hydraulic convertible roof, operated by 11 hydraulic cylinders, a mechanism so complex it allegedly cost £8 million just to develop. It featured the first ever automatic pop-up roll bar, engineered by Karl-Heinz Baumann, which could deploy in a fraction of a second during a rollover. It had the world's first seat-mounted seat belts, integrated into magnesium-framed seats, and it was the first convertible in the world to come with a wind deflector. Every single one of those features is now standard across the industry. The R129 invented them. The engine lineup was equally serious. The 300 SL came with a 228 horsepower inline six. The 500 SL packed a 5.0-liter V8, making 322 horsepower, the most powerful engine Mercedes had ever put in a road car at that time. And then, in 1993, the 600 SL arrived with a 6.0-liter V12, producing 389 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque. The original price for that V12, $119,500. In 1993 money. The market responded with a frenzy. The Mercedes plant in Bremen doubled production and still couldn't keep up. U.S. dealers were slapping 30% premiums over sticker price, and buyers paid it without blinking. The initial 20,000-unit production run sold out immediately. In Europe, delivery times exceeded 5 years. 5 years of waiting for a car? But here's where the story gets truly wild. The AMG variants took an already exceptional car and turned it into something borderline unhinged. The SL60 AMG arrived in 1993 with a bored-out 6.0-liter V8 making 381 horsepower. Then came the SL70 AMG, 150 units, with a 7.1-liter V12 producing 489 horsepower, and at the absolute peak, the SL73 AMG. Only 85 were ever built. Its 7.3-liter, naturally aspirated, V12 made 518 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. With the speed limiter removed, it could exceed 200 miles per hour. These cars sold for $168,000 each. For context, a Ferrari F 355 Spider cost $139,000 that same year. And that 7.3-liter V12? It has a second life you might have heard of. thanks to Horacio Pagani's friendship with the legendary Argentine racing driver Juan Manuel Fangio, who had won 2 Formula One World Championships for Mercedes in the 1950s. Every single version of the Pagani Zonda has been powered by that same AMG engine. In the track-only Zonda R, it makes 678 horsepower. The Sultan of Brunei, one of the world's most prolific car collectors, ordered 25 SL73 AMGs for himself. One of his former cars recently sold at auction for €400,000. A 1996 example with just 3,000 kilometers sold in the UK for £340,000. These are staggering numbers for a car most people walk past without a second glance. The R129 even has a royal pedigree. In 1991, Princess Diana sold her Jaguar XJS and leased a metallic red 500 SL, becoming the first member of the British royal family to use a foreign car. The press went berserk. The controversy forced her to return the car to Mercedes-Benz in 1992. Today, that exact car sits in the Mercedes-Benz Museum in Stuttgart, parked right next to the Popemobile. Over its 13-year production run, Mercedes built just over 200,000 R129s. The Via 8 models account for roughly half. The inline 6 cars make up about 44%, and the V12S represent just 5% of total production. Within that already small number, the truly rare variants are almost impossible to find. Only 65 SL55 AMGs were ever made. Only 166 manual transmission 300 SLs are believed to have been sold in the United States. The dogleg 5-speed in a Mercedes Roadster is the kind of detail that makes collectors lose sleep. Now, here's the part that should make you pay attention. The average price of an R129 today is around $21,000. An SL 500 averages just under $19,000. Even the V12 SL 600 averages only about $32,000. These are cars that were engineered to a standard, not to a price. Cars from an era when Mercedes-Benz spent $1 billion developing a platform because that's what it took to get it right. But the market is waking up. Over the past 5 years, values for excellent condition R129s have risen nearly 50%. A 2002 SL 600 Silver Arrow Edition, one of only 100 IV12 examples in that final special run, recently sold on Bring a Trailer for $132,000. A Brabus 7.3S with 1,100 kilometers brought $165,000 at RM Sotheby's. The trajectory is clear. As Jason Camisa and Derek Tamscott explored in their deep dive on the Carmudgeon Show, this car represents the absolute high point of every generation of Mercedes SL. It was the last model developed entirely under Sacco's watch, the last true expression of the cost-no-object Mercedes philosophy. Bruno Sacco retired in 1999. The Chrysler merger began to erode the standards. Later cars even showed more corrosion issues, something earlier RR129s were virtually immune to. The R129 was the end of an era, and everyone who studies these cars knows it. Bruno Sacco passed away in September of 2024 at the age of 90. He spent his final decades in Sindelfingen, a suburb of Stuttgart, near the factory where his greatest creations were born. He wanted his designs to be timeless, and the R129 is the proof that he succeeded. Everyone is too busy fetishizing Porsches to notice, but the R129 Mercedes SL is one of the most significant automobiles of the 20th century. The technology, the design, the engineering excess, the sheer ambition of the thing. Should it be worth $1 million? Maybe not every example, but the fact that you can still buy perfection for the price of a family sedan, that won't last much longer.